From News 19, I'm meteorologist Daniel Bonds. Here's the latest satellite image for Tropical Storm Ian. Notice kind of hard to find a well-defined system at this point. So we're going to continue to track this. The forecast, though, is indicating it's going to get better defined and become a hurricane during the work week. Here's the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. It does have winds of 50 miles per hour moving towards the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. It's about 320 miles southeast of the Grand Cayman Islands. So it is forecasted to rapidly intensify as we go through the work week and possibly make an impact somewhere in the Gulf Coast at this point. Still a lot of uncertainty with this particular storm, though. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Forecasted to become a hurricane as early as tonight and then possibly a major hurricane as early as Tuesday morning, moving towards the western tip of Cuba. Notice the Hurricane Center has it becoming a Category 4 storm as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico, the eastern Gulf of Mexico, still a Category 3 storm, and then kind of weaken as it runs into some environmental conditions that are a little less conducive for hurricanes. We'll zoom in here a little bit closer and kind of show you what we are watching when they get this close. Talking in this red area, this higher concern. So you're talking about anywhere from about 6 to 7 days impact, and that's what we're looking at right now, at least for parts of the Gulf Coast. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the tropical track. Here is the cone of uncertainty for Ian. And so this could be anywhere in here. It could even be on the outside of this cone of uncertainty. So if you do have any kind of interest towards Florida, especially the panhandle of Florida and down towards the west coast of Florida, you do want to watch this very closely as the forecast does have it making a landfall around the panhandle of Florida. It looks like very early Friday morning. So we'll be tracking this for quite some time. The spaghetti models are in pretty good agreement in the short term, and then they kind of diverge a little bit. So here are the spaghetti models. You notice we got those warnings in effect for the western part of Cuba, and they're in pretty good agreement. Then they kind of spread out, and you notice here's that cone of uncertainty does include a lot of our forecast models here. Not quite getting that cone of uncertainty into South Carolina as of yet, but that may change. Here is the American model. Now this is for Tuesday morning, indicating possible hurricane at this point. Now, keep in mind, this is not an official forecast. This is just one of the global models here. This is, at this point, would be a hurricane as it continues to move generally in the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico, 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, according to the American model, and then making a landfall, it looks like maybe late Thursday in the panhandle of Florida, and then kind of making this turn more towards the north and east. Now, if it were to take that path, what we would have to watch for us here in the Midlands, being on the eastern side of the center of rotation, we would have to watch for the possibility for some severe weather, some heavy downpours, which would include maybe some flooding, and we'd have to certainly watch for the potential for a tornado outbreak at that point. You don't want to be on the eastern side of the center rotation. Again, this is the American model, not an official forecast. Do want to show you the European model. It's a little bit different, just a touch different. This would be Tuesday night. Here comes what would be Hurricane Ian at that point. It brings a landfall right around the Tampa area. So you're talking about a pretty big difference between the American model having the landfall around the panhandle of Florida and the European model showing a landfall near Tampa. And as we go through time, the European model makes it go mainly to the north. And once again, if it were to take this particular path, we're talking about the potential for severe weather for us here in South Carolina, and that would include the potential for tornadoes. Now again, a lot has to happen. We're going to be following this closely. There's a lot of uncertainty with this particular system that hasn't really become well developed yet. So again, not an official forecast. This is just another one of the global models. Most likely time of arrival. This is a product from the National Hurricane Center. And you'll notice these are tropical storm force winds. Expecting a high chance of tropical storm force winds for the western tip of Cuba. That's where they have the hurricane warnings in effect. And then you're talking about maybe for the Midlands or South Carolina early Friday morning. That does include at least parts of the Midlands for the potential at least for tropical storm force winds. Now again, a little shift in the track, whether it be the east or west, a shift in the intensity would change what we will see. So Take this for what it's worth as of right now. Here are the tropical storm warnings for, you got tropical storm watch for parts of Cuba. You got the hurricane watch in effect and the hurricane warning in effect for the Cayman Islands. So far, Ian is now our 9th named storm. We've had 3 hurricanes, only 1 major hurricane. But as we mentioned, that may change as the forecast now does include Ian becoming a major hurricane. So on average through today, we'd expect 10 named storms, 4 hurricanes, 2 major hurricanes. So far, we've had 9 named storms, 3 hurricanes, and 1 major hurricane. But as we mentioned, that may change. Here's the forecast for our rainfall. Now, this would include tropical storm and or Hurricane Ian moving towards one of those projected paths that the European and or the American model shows. And so this would be a lot of rainfall, anywhere from about 3 inches for most of the Midlands. Then you get a little bit farther towards the south and east, you're talking 4 to 5 inches. So possibility for some heavy rainfall, that would be late in our forecast period. So you're talking probably maybe late Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. So this forecast is highly dependent on what happens with tropical storm and or Hurricane Ian. Right now we'll go mostly cloudy, small chance for rain on Thursday, in particular late in the day on Thursday, and then scattered showers and storms on Friday. If that storm moves the way it's currently projected, probably a lot of rainfall, windy conditions, probably even some severe weather, and maybe some more of that early on Saturday. And with the clouds and rain in place and those breezy conditions, you're talking about temperatures in the lower 70s. So it will be cooler, but again, highly dependent on what happens with the intensity and track with Ian at this point. So we're going to continue to track what's going on with Ian this morning. Not very organized. There is a little bit of a rotation there, but as of right now, not very organized. It does have winds of 50 miles per hour and stronger gusts moving towards the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. And we'll leave you with the look at the forecasted track from the National Hurricane Center, indicating it's going to become a major hurricane, rapidly intensifying over the next few days, possibly becoming our 2nd major hurricane of the 2022 season and pushing towards Florida during the work week. We'll bring you more updates on air and online as needed. Have a great rest of the weekend.